The Las Vegas police took the unusual step on Friday of releasing key details about the continuing investigation into the October 1 shooting that killed 58 people and wounded hundreds of others. Sheriff Joseph Lombardo of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department said in a news conference that while he was confident that Stephen Paddock was the only gunman, there was another person under investigation who is likely to be charged in the next 2 months. No charges will be filed against Mr. Paddock's girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley, Sheriff Lombardo said. He also said there was still no motive known for the attack. Investigators have uncovered extensive details about the internet search history on Mr. Paddock's computer, including child pornography, guidance on ballistics and information about SWAT team practices. Law enforcement officials believe Mr. Paddock had recently lost a significant amount of wealth, and that may have led him to open fire from his hotel room at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino. The police published an 81-page preliminary investigative report detailing Mr. Paddock's actions in the 2 weeks leading up to the attack as well as his plans to carry it out. Federal court documents unsealed last week made it clear that Mr. Paddock was meticulously prepared for the operation, the worst mass shooting in modern American history. According to the report released Friday, 851 people were injured in the shooting, including 422 by gunfire. It was the first time Sheriff Lombardo had spoken publicly about the case in more than 2 months. He said investigators had reviewed more than 2,000 leads and 21,000 hours of video. "I am going against normal protocols," Sheriff Lombardo said, adding that he hoped the preliminary report would quell the zest for information. The report offers extensive details about Mr. Paddock's actions and planning in the time leading up to the attack. Here are some of the key takeaways. Mr. Paddock lived a seemingly normal life, the investigators wrote, based on numerous interviews with relatives and acquaintances. He began traveling internationally, usually alone, in 2012, going to Europe, Asia, and South America, and he took cruises to the Bahamas, Mexico, and Alaska. Mr. Paddock complained often to friends and family members about pain and fatigue. But the doctor who had been his primary care physician since 2009 said that the only major ailment he had was from a slip and fall at a casino in 2013, when he tore a muscle. The doctor told investigators that Mr. Paddock was odd and showed little emotion. While he believed Mr. Paddock may have had bipolar disorder, Mr. Paddock refused to discuss it or take antidepressants, though he did accept anti-anxiety medication. Mr. Paddock often refused to take medication, he said. Over more than 3 decades, from 1982 through the fall of 2016, Mr. Paddock bought 29 firearms, including handguns, shotguns, and 1 rifle. Such purchases accelerated beginning in October 2016. He bought more than 55 firearms in less than a year, mostly rifles. He also bought more than 100 firearm-related items such as scopes, ammunition, and bump stocks in the year before the attack. Ms. Danley told investigators that Mr. Paddock's demeanor changed during the last year. He became distant and their relationship was no longer intimate. He became germophobic and had strong reactions to smells. During a stay at the Mandalay Bay in early September, Ms. Danley said he had behaved strangely, and constantly looked out the windows of the room and at the concert venue below from different angles. Mr. Paddock appeared to begin thinking about a mass shooting last May, searching on Google for Summer Concerts 2017 and biggest open-air concert venues in USA. In early September he searched for Las Vegas high-rise condos rent and Life is Beautiful expected attendance, a reference to another large outdoor concert in Las Vegas that month. 2 weeks later, he looked for SWAT weapons, ballistics chart 308, SWAT Las Vegas, and do police use explosives? Mr. Paddock stayed in a room at the Ogden condominium complex on September 17, during the Life is Beautiful music festival, requesting rooms that overlooked the downtown outdoor venue there. In video surveillance, Mr. Paddock could be seen taking several suitcases from his vehicle to his rooms. He was always alone, and investigators so far have been unable to determine if Paddock intended an attack during this festival or if he used it as a means to plan a future attack, the report said on September 25. Mr. Paddock checked into room 32 to 135 at the Mandalay Bay and checked into the room next door 4 days later, under Ms. Danley's name. On his first night at the hotel, Mr. Paddock had dinner at a sushi restaurant inside the hotel and returned to the front desk with 5 suitcases. The next day, he took 7 more suitcases up to his room with the bellman. On September 27, Mr. Paddock spent the entire night gambling, not stopping until 7 the next morning. The next day, he went to Mesquite and purchased a .308 bolt-action rifle, deposited $14,000 into a Wells Fargo account and transferred $50,000 to an account in the Philippines. He stopped at a gun range before going back to the hotel. He gambled through the night again. On September 30, he brought 4 more suitcases to his room just before 6 a.m. and 2 additional one at 3:20 p.m. on Oct 1. At about 10 p.m., a hotel security guard named Jesus Campos arrived on the 32nd floor to respond to an alarm set off by an open door to another room. He was shot a few minutes later, just after Mr. Paddock opened fire on the crowd below.